Grace, mercy, and peace to you from God our Father and from Jesus Christ our Lord. This is the day the Lord has made. We're glad, we're rejoicing in it. It's a good day to be alive. It's a good day to be in Formation Saturday with each and every one of you. You know, I started Formation Saturday as an opportunity for impartation where we can just talk around different subjects related to the life of the church and your spiritual development. So I'm excited today. We're not going to waste any time. Baby Kendall is with me today, and my good friend, my brother, my frat. Listen, we actually crossed into Sigma Land the same night. Pastor Lee B. Walker from the New Home Church in Mount Meigs. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, bud. How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited about having you with us today, and I know this is gonna be good. Good. This is gonna be real good.
Any conversation with you is good, man. So we definitely thank God for this opportunity. We thank you and your great church for this opportunity, and we're excited to have some conversation.
Absolutely. Now, the month of November is church anniversary for us. We're celebrating 119 years as a church. Our church was started in 1903 by Reverend Cajun Scott on the corner of Dry and 12th Street. And the Lord has preserved us 119 years. And so this month, I want to have a conversation with you because, listen, GB Walt he's a phenom.
Oh, bless
he
you,
got
man.
he got the old school, he got the new school. Is like he's that guy, you know, recording artist, going viral. He had the baby in the owl shout this past week. But that's just him. That's just him. And so what I want to do, I want to have a conversation around this old school, new school, traditional, contemporary church, how they differ, how they come together, how we can bridge the gap.
Right.
So that while we don't leave the old landmark,
absolutely,
we still serve the present age.
Absolutely.
You know, so is there a fundamental difference between the old school, new school, traditional, contemporary church? Is there any kind of difference there that'll be a good place to jump off with?
To be totally honest, I don't think there's a unique fundamental difference. I will suggest to you that the very things that were influential and or trendy in mama and grandmama's day, that's the same thing we're feeling in this day. It's just the reality that technology and society has advanced and progressed way beyond where we used to be. Where we used to have books on the shelves, like all those books you have behind you, you know, now
and like you got
now we have green screens. You see what I'm saying? You know, that's the difference, right? Because now I don't have as many books as Dr. Mickles, right? But I do have books on my iPad and I do have books in my phones, right? We have the same desires. It's just simply things have shifted because technology has allowed us to be able to attain and or grasp things that we've always desired. Let's be honest, you know, I'll even give you this analogy. At one point or another, all of our mothers and grandparents were watching Bishop T.D. Jakes. Bishop T.D. Jakes, they were producing great services, producing great conferences, and we never ever considered that our church could do that. We never thought it. We never thunk it, as grandma would say. We didn't think about our churches having cameras and multiple cameras and angles and all of that. But the very thing the pandemic pushed us into was something that he was doing decades ago.
Yeah.
It's just now we saw, right, a long time ago, right? Get ready, get ready, get ready. Now we just see we can be a part of that as well.
Which now what you just did opens up, and I'm gonna take a veer off of our line of questions here. Because I've been teaching in our Bible study about having an incomplete perspective. not being able to see the bigger picture. And what you
Right.
just described is an expanding of our horizons.
Absolutely.
We have
Absolutely.
to see it bigger than we've seen it before.
Yeah,
That may be one of the bigger differences between then and now.
exactly.
Then it was the local four walls.
Hmm.
But in this generation, you've gone from local to global, and you don't have to have 10,000 members to be global.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what's interesting. If there is any fundamental difference, it is the reality that the older traditional church thought about the community, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in a community and we're thinking the whole city, we're
Yeah.
thinking the whole state, we're thinking the whole United States of America. Matter of fact, we get on a TikTok and we want Germany to clock in. Like, that's where our minds are now. And it's simply that way because that's what was interesting to us, coming up, is that there's people way over there that actually like what we're doing here. And so we begin to take those risks just to reach more people. I think we tapped into the greater
Ooh,
works that,
you said
that
a
Jesus
word,
Christ
there,
talked
Doc.
about. Oh,
You
did you
said a
say
word.
risk? Is that a curse
Yeah,
word in
you
the
said a
church?
word, Reverend. You said a word. Gotta take a
Yeah,
risk.
we have to. And what's crazy is taking risks is synonymous with faith, right? It's synonymous with faith. So, we're just in a space now where it doesn't even cost much to take a risk. It really cost us more to not take a risk.
Ooh,
When we consider even just this pandemic, what we just made it through, GB, as you affectionately call your church, made it through the pandemic years and months, right? And the truth is, y'all took some risks, right? Having church in the parking lot, not knowing who's going to show up, that's a risk, right? Going virtual, not knowing if anybody's going to give any tithe or offering, that's a risk. And I think God has returned us back to a posture and a position to where is now we're living with faith and
yeah,
by faith again.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is.
Wow. So, with that being said, with that being established,
Mhm.
let's consider let's reminisce. Let's talk about this, the old school church, the traditional church, and those things about the old school church that we should continue to embrace.
Ooh,
And then,
Lord.
and as we have this conversation about what we should continue to embrace, we'll move into some of the things that we should change and tweak. But man, I was watching the video, and y'all was singing "Glory, Glory, Hallelujah," man.
Doc.
But the band had funked that thing up so bad
Yes, sir, Doc.
that the
Yeah,
baby got out in the aisle and had to get his juke on,
he
because
had to get it.
it. There's some things about that church, the church that we grew up in, that we still love, that is still wonderful. What comes to your mind, Doc?
So I will not lie to you. I thank God for New Home out Meigs. This is a church that, as I tell everyone, we're old school church with a new swag. Not much has changed, but what needed to change has changed. And when I came to New Home, I had this statement that I often say to pastors now, and they kind of understand what I mean now. And I know you to understand, brother, because when you come into a church, you have to assess where the church is.
That's right.
And you have to be able to see, as Nehemiah would say, what's good and what's bad. And then you assemble the people, and then you hand out the assignments, right, as Nehemiah did. But I think as I begin to assess what was already happening at New Home, I had to do this. I had to secure the culture. I had to make sure that they understood that what they're good at, it cannot go anywhere. Sometimes when we're in a place of transition, we begin to think, up, in with that, out with the old and in with the new. No, baby, calm down. When it comes to tradition and things that have been going on before you that predate you, it's good to secure what is good. David, he found himself saying, hey, I'm going to fight this Goliath since y'all are just chilling and he's keep talking against my God. I'm going to fight this brother. Like he's really, he messing with my God. I ain't finna let this happen. They take him to Saul. He's like, Saul's like, bro, you have no experience. He says, I beg to differ. I had to kill a lion, a tiger, and a bear when they went after my sheep. Saul said, well, okay, now if this is what you want to do, young man, I want you to do this for me. I want you to make sure that you wear my armor. What's interesting about this, big bro, is the reality that once he gets to the place of getting that armor, which represents the traditional way of fighting, which represents what they always have used to fight, he puts it on first. And that's why I tell people, you got to slow down. Don't talk down what you have not tried. Because some of the things of old are still good even now. But he tried it. And once he tried it, he saw that it did not fit him. And because it didn't fit him, he went with what he knew. Now, I love this because the reality is what doesn't work at New Home might still work at GB.
Absolutely.
What does work at GB might not work over there at Bogahoma Baptist Church. And so we have to secure our culture. If you love on people, we need to keep loving on people. Right? Unless it is something that is contrary to the will of God in that season, it needs to stay right where it is. Right. And so that's what I've always believed. Tradition is not a bad thing. No. It has a bad connotation only because some people that deem what they're doing is tradition, it is not successful or effective in the church, and they'll override anything new that might be better because they want to keep what they're used to. Now, it's giving tradition a bad name. Let's be real and let's be honest. Tradition has shifted the place before. It has taken you to the presence of God. Tradition has aided you in your ministry works. Tradition has aided you in administrative works. If it's still working in this present age, you keep on working what you've been working.
Like I was watching a clip. Matthew Stevenson is in full praise break. All nations is they running, they dancing the whole nine.
Yeah.
And he's leading the chant. And I'm listening to what he's saying. And everything he said was a hymn.
Oh, man.
Everything he said was a hymn.
My hymn book is in here.
Straight out of the hymn book.
Look, it's on the other bookcase in front of me. But if we lose a hymn, we've lost the identity of our church.
Ooh.
If we lose the ability to sing hymns, we've lost the identity of our church. The hymns are still pregnant with potential to bring us in the presence of God. I mean, let's think about it. The Hebrew hymns are still pregnant with preaching potential because the Psalms are in the book.
I just preached one last Sunday.
You see what I'm saying? We can't lose not only what brought us over, but the very things that are tied and tethered to the word of God. Because let's be honest, some of the new music has nothing to do with God. Not my God, not your God, not our God, not somebody God, but not the God, right? Yeah. Some of it is not being produced to bring us closer to him. Some of it is just being produced to make us feel some type of way. And let's be honest, when you are living life downtrodden, depressed, you need something to pick you up and bring you closer to him who can make you better. Not just something to make you feel good.
Oh, man.
And so I lift the hymns of the church and I love the old 100s that never made the hymn book. You know as you spoke about it, and I got to singing Glory, Glory. I'm quick to tell the church, I'm feeling churchy today. And we start singing Glory, Glory. And like you said, the band turned that thing into a quartet song. And I was having fun because of the memories of when I was a deacon in 2013, the memories of when I was a little boy and I heard my daddy singing Glory, Glory, just to get to the refrain or to the spot where you say, friends don't treat me.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah,
Doc,
buddy.
I'm getting goosebumps right now. Every round goes higher and higher, like it does something to you. But you can sing "This Is My Exodus" all day.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Walker gonna sit there and say, "Okay, now what you exited from?" It's something. It's something. And let's be honest. Every established church, especially Missionary Baptist Church, you are pastoring more than 3 generations. You're pastoring more than 3 generations. You are not securing the culture. You're not taking care of the sheep. You are not properly pastoring your fold if you just come in and wipe out something that's always aided a generation.
That's right.
I believe in intergenerational ministry.
Absolutely.
Many people, multi-generational, they don't like it. Some of them think it's just semantics. No, it's not really semantics. Intergenerational means that we're working together, and we're presenting something that ministers to all generations. And what does that mean? That means even if it's contemporary, you should be able to minister to those who are from the traditional element. It doesn't have to be a separate service, but I used to see people do it like this, bro, where they sing glory, glory, turn around and they glory, glory. Yeah, like it. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, ba-dum.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
man.
that.
You
I
know
remember that.
why aren't we still? That's what we need. And so
Yeah.
when I talk to my music department, I'm telling them, I need you to bring the classics back, and I need you to put the swag on them of the new school, because the reality is, not only are we ministering to so many people, we've got to minister to these young people that what was is not bad now that you are.
That's right. That's right.
Because some of them think everything. Now, I ain't like what y'all do. No, we got to teach them that what was is
You're gonna
not
need it.
bad. Now that you're gonna need it sooner or later.
Yeah, you're gonna need that thing.
rather sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
so,
Cause man, if when you give has taken me through so many church fights, you hear me? You know, that was my hymn. You know, it carries you through.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the great things about the traditional church. Another thing I love about the old school traditional church was her commitment to training.
I love it. I love it. I
You
love
know,
it.
we were trained on how to do it. And it wasn't like they gave us another class. Just come up here and stand with me while I do devotion. That's how I learned to do it. Just stand up here while we're doing devotion.
Yeah.
And we'll let you read the scripture, or we'll let you say a quick prayer. Deep gonna pray after you because mother got to get her shout on. But we're gonna include you.
Yes, sir.
You know,
yes, sir.
And that's how a lot of us learned, how a lot of us were trained to do what we're doing now, because the old church provided a platform, an opportunity for us to get into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think now you hit the head on something that is very good conversation concerning our training and the old school BTU and the Crusaders and VBS that was a week long during the day. All of those things. All those things we grew up in and grew up through. And we definitely thank God for those times. I think the shifting that has come about now is primarily because the parenting has shifted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think the parenting has shifted. I think society has shifted. And so now we can't do things quite like we used to, but we still got to give that same intentionality like they used to. They were serious about what they did.
Yeah. Now we talked about what we love about it. Is there anything? And I know we finna go into some hot deep water. What about grandmama and them? We need to leave with grandmama and them. You can't get the computer, Kendall.
Look, she want the computer. It's a lot of stuff And it's small things.
Mm-hmm.
It's small things that we must get rid of. But I think one of the big things, as I think about just overall the church in its nature,
Mm-hmm.
is that concept. If you probably remember this, my dad was a pastor for a very while, a very long time, even still is now. I was a PK. The thought
Yeah.
that the pastor is the end all be all for all things,
Oh God, please.
that's something that has to go. We're not lawyers and doctors and pastors and car salesmen and insurance agents. We can't do it all.
The
And
sick,
now,
bro. Call pastor. Nope. Don't
right,
call me.
right. So now we have to get back to what should have been our traditional upbringing of Acts chapter 6 and those seven being called to be diaconates, and serve the people. That's
Mm-hmm.
one thing we know for certain. Another thing that we have learned is that we don't have to do all of the fluff that we used to do in a service.
Absolutely.
It was a thing that pacified our people due to inability to find value in other spaces. So we had all of these opportunities for you to do this responsive reading, and you to do the announcements, and you to do this, and you to do that. And so now we're in a space where we have to alleviate all of that time that's being wasted giving opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that we give enough time for God to say what he wants to say in the service.
Yeah, cause pastor, I'm not trying to be in no 3-hour service. I'm just
No,
telling you
Doc.
up front. I'm telling you up front.
We too young for that, Doc.
That 3 hours, that 3-hour service. We're gonna start our church at 11. We ain't getting out to 1. Wait, pastor,
Doc,
come on.
man, to be totally honest, we just went to a structure of two services that allows us 45 minutes in the first service, about 45 to 50
Oh
minutes.
wow.
And then the second service at 10 o'clock is about an hour 30. It sometimes goes over depending on what's happening.
Wow.
Because structure and time matters now.
Wow.
It matters now because people are busier now.
Now, how's that working out for you?
Well, we're only one Sunday in now, but it was beautiful. It was beautiful because what I did was what I was trained to do, even as a young preacher under my father's leadership. Handle what needs to be handled, and once the pastor gets the mic, it's the pastor's time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how we do weddings still.
Yeah.
So I was able to gauge how much time I had and say everything I needed to say without even rushing.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
because I took away all the fluff.
That's right.
Took away all the fluff. Let's consider the reality that the responsive reading, while it might be good, has nothing to do with the text that you're preaching that Sunday.
And I want us to put emphasis on this word. You weren't rushed.
No, I was not rushed.
Just because we have a structured time doesn't mean that we're rushing.
Not at all. The Holy Spirit, it don't take him all day.
He's intelligent. He know what he's doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I think you made a great point when you brought up how we did a lot of things because we needed things to do.
Mm-hmm.
The church, the members of the church needed a place for identity and for purpose and for fulfillment.
Yes, sir.
Now we're finding those things in other entities.
Yeah.
And I think we need to say that there has to be a balance there. It's okay for you to find identity outside of the church, but don't completely neglect the church. I think that's a conversation to be said. We can't throw it away. Please don't throw us away. Yeah, do what you're going to do.
Wow.
Okay, you're in the bike club. Great. Ride your bike. But don't throw the Lord away.
Yeah, you just open up a whole nother conversation that I did not bring to the table when we talk about something that the church had and or has to get away from. And it's holding everyone hostage to the building.
Yeah.
Legitimately, and I'm sure you can amen this. We will be in church on Sunday for hours. BTU for hours, man, church fundraiser for hours, Saturday choir rehearsal for hours, legitimately Bible study for hours, and what we saw was Christians being discipled, but marriages falling apart. Christians learning a lot, but families falling apart. We had the knowledge, as I say all the time.
The knowledge, Doc.
Yeah, we had the knowledge, but we didn't have application.
Oh,
we didn't know how to go home and put it together because we were too busy going home for a rest stop, running to the church. And so now we're in a space where we have to design a complete overhaul where we just tell members, hey, I need 5 hours. I need 4 hours out of your week. I need you to pay attention at Bible study. I need you to be a part of Sunday worship. I need you to volunteer for 1 hour a week and let people know I don't want to tear up your home. I don't want all of your time.
That's
I
right.
don't need all of it, because now I see church not as a hospital that you stay overnight, but I see church as the factory for discipling you to send you back into the world to be God's disciples.
That's right.
And I think that's something that, man, especially as a PK, even as a deacon son, at one point, my father was a deacon, singing in the choir. My mom was a choir director. Like, that's one thing we never considered. We wanted everyone to serve in capacities that drew and or took and or drained a lot of them out of them. And we never looked at their life and said, hey, you need to spend more time with your wife. You need to spend more time at home with your children. I love that you serve. You're a great armor bearer, right? You're a great usher. You're a great this, but your family is in a fix right now. You need to spend this next season ministering to your family.
And beyond that, not just your family and your children, but you need to go somewhere and sit down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You running on fumes. Your spiritual life is hanging by a thread.
Wow.
And being here ain't the solution for something that only God can fix. You're gonna need to sit down with the Lord and get that together.
He created a day for this.
That's right. It's called a Sabbath.
Yes, sir, Doc. Yes, sir, Doc.
And you gotta choose to take it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we've been talking about old church. Let's talk new church.
Okay.
What about this new brand of church is worthy of acceptance? You know, we'll talk about some of the things we need to be cautious about a little later, but right now, because you have some people who can't see any value in how church has progressed and how things have changed in the life of the church.
Right.
So where should we look to see points of value that we should appreciate how the church has evolved and what the church has become, especially because church is never going back to what it was before 2020. Before the pandemic, we will never be that again. So we got to learn to embrace what is.
Exactly.
What about it?
I think holistically, when we talk about the new church, the church that is now cyber, the church that is now considered to be physical and digital. One thing that it has brought to us that we already knew was that our wrapping matters. It's brought to us that our wrapping matters. Like the way that it looks, the presentation of it matters, because there are some people in the pews who can't deal with how it's presented, but because they're already there and tied to it, they love everything about it because they know what it will give you. I think this new age church is really tapping into the concept that if we are fishermen, then our lure will have to change depending on the audience.
Wow.
I think they understand that there's a difference in a core water, right, and just a regular Dasani.
And Callahan.
Come on here. And so the legitimate concern now is that we dress it appropriately so that it will be enticing to those who are coming. Now that's one measure. I think the other measure, as we talked about, is this holistic view of reaching the nations rather than just the community. So now we are jumping onto platforms that freely give opportunity for us to be seen by more people. Why is that? I think some of us learned, even in our families, that you'll get support from strangers sometimes more than you'll get from your family folk. So we understand that if folk on the outside will support us, then maybe the folk on the inside will support us. And so that's a measure that we're leaping into now. When we start talking about the smoke and mirrors of a Sunday morning in the New Age church, of having darkened congregational seats and lights on the platform, when we start talking about the smoke coming out the stage and all of these things, let's be honest, while that might not be what we desire, the only reason some people are employing those methods is because that's the lure that their audience desires, right? Like they desire to put all of the emphasis on that platform, that stage. I don't even know if they call it a pulpit anymore.
Yeah,
but that
it looks like the concert.
Because you can get folk to come to a concert. Let's be real.
Yeah, they gonna come hear some singing.
But you tell them to come to church, and you're gonna get a fraction of those that went to hear the singing. So I think some of them are attempting and have been attempting to capture that audience and get them church. And I don't, while it's not my cup of tea, while I believe that I have to be the best fusion I can be, old and young school, I will allow them to do that because that's for their audience.
Yeah, that ain't gotta be New Home. That ain't gotta be GB.
Not at all. It's not for every church. It's not for every church.
And now I'm finna pick.
Pick at me, Doc. Pick at me.
Cause we were just talking about presentation.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen one of the biggest things to go viral is when the sound is off in the service. And we in church and we think the choir sound in A100, and then you see that video feed. Whew. And now they done sent that around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got to pay attention, like you said, we got to pay attention to the packaging. Or the pastor had a bad day and he done said the wrong thing.
Oh, Lord.
Now you got it. Got it all over the world. It's viral.
Oh, Lord.
Right now, the girl stepped up on the pew and singing. Boy singing on the pew. And grandmama got to look at her like she ain't going to fall on me.
Mother said, y'all better tell her.
So now when we're in church, we have to be mindful that we're not just preaching to the people in the room, that our local experience isn't the only experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that matters, right? I would almost say that we should have been mindful even before.
Yeah.
I really think, if anything, the cameras are making us come out of mediocre land and come to a place of excellency.
That's right.
My mom always said, you're going to do your best for God. Now, you can do what you want to do out there. But when you come in this here choir stand, you're going to sing your best. You're going to think your best. You're going to worship your best because this is for him. And so now we're in the space where, to be totally honest, as a ministry consultant, I tell some small churches, it's probably best for you to not stream.
That's right.
It might be best for you to just turn it off and get your people to come back in the house, because some of us do not have the ability to give the presentation that's necessary to be online.
And I'll add to that. And just because you're not streaming live does not mean you can't have a video presence. So So okay, we can't put all of it up there, but we'll cut a piece that we can.
Now I like that addition because, to be quite frank, brother, majority of the people who have the best presentation when it comes to their YouTube, they still go back and cut all the other stuff off, and all you get is the sermon.
That's right. You get an intro video straight into that intro.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things that we need to embrace. Mm-hmm. Being selective about the content that we put out. Because and I don't know if you like this, but sometimes I have a pastoral moment and say something that I don't need to leave. I may not need to leave this on there.
You got that old school in you, brother.
You understand? I can't help it. I can't help it.
Yeah,
I try to say it nice, but
Right. I have those moments, but I normally reserve those moments for off camera conversation. Now, I will not lie to you. I thank God for those in mega churches who have allowed us to see the entirety of their service.
That's right.
I've learned so much watching them handle things during service. I've learned more from that than I have from the sermons, to be totally honest. I saw a pastor stop before he even preached and made sure that every monitor and mic in his church was working before he started preaching, because he said, she want to talk. Go ahead, baby. Because he said, I'm not going to preach and you can't hear me. And we paid too much money to get this right for us to sit here and have it wrong. I said, listen, Adam. And it's stuff like that, honestly, that makes some of us feel better. Yeah. Because it's even worse when you aren't being who you're supposed, or who you are, just because there's a camera involved. That's not a good look.
I've been in several scenarios where it was more important for me to see it, whether it was virtual or live. I learned more by being in the service and watching. I'm in the account speakers and monitors, and you got 3 subwoofers, and wait, what's that? And that's where we do the learning.
Right.
It ain't always during the service.
Absolutely.
Now, and I know we got to wrap it up pretty quick. Are there any things about contemporary new school church that we should be kind of cautious of?
Absolutely. The very things that we should embrace are the very things that we should be cautious of.
Okay.
They taught us how to make sure that we wrap the church or the service properly. Mm-hmm. But you can't make that the priority.
Oh, buddy.
If you make that the priority, you'll promote something that you don't even really have going on. Right? Oh, wow. Under the surface, there is no substance.
Keyword, substance.
Yeah, and we saw that a lot in this realm of virtual membership and virtual church, as we saw people, dressing up, just like a good book. Like, what is it for you to have a good, and I'm gonna grab the first one here that I have sitting next to my desk. What is it for you to grab a book with a beautiful cover, but there's nothing written on the pages, right? Are you trying to see the name of the book? There you go.
Yeah, I got it.
What good is it for you?
I was gonna get it.
I know, Doc. What good is it for you to have a nice cover, but nothing's on the pages? And that's what we started seeing as everyone embraced this cyber church realm, that we started running into churches who had the best graphics, had the best logos, had the best videos, had the best marketing on IG, but you watched the service and you said, what is going on here?
Yep.
You listen at the pastor preach and you said, what scripture did he start with? Because he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So we got to
had a scripture.
Right. If he might have had his own proverb. And so I think we legitimately have to get back to the place where we understand you got to keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can have a good rapping, but you better make sure there's a nice gift in there. What good is it for you to spend $30 on the wrapping paper, but you spent $5 on the gift?
Oh,
yeah. So that's one of the things we have to watch out for. When we start making church into a concert, if we go too drastic, if we begin to be too extra, we'll begin to entertain people and not educate people.
Yeah.
And entertainment makes you feel good, but education is for your good.
Yeah.
And so that's where we get to the place where we have to keep the main thing the main thing. And that's why I tell people all the time, hey, get you a team that can focus on that and let the pastor focus on this. Because the pastor still need to be in the word, because the choir still needs to make sure that they're picking songs that got something to do with the word. Choir, matter of fact, come to Bible study so you know what the word says, right? And we're going to let those three people over here on the PR team handle making this all look good. And we're not doing ministry just so that we can market it. We're marketing the ministry that we do.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can't pass out food, right? Just to take a picture. Everybody can't do the same things, but everybody can do something. So what is our church known for? What does our church do well? And that's what we're going to do. And when we do what we do, we're going to make sure that the world knows this is our service. I believe McDonald's tells people we serve hamburgers. I believe Dairy Queen says we have nice blizzards. I believe Walmart says we have low prices. Whatever it is that you do, that's what you present. Because it's a lot of folk out here making presentations that are pretenders. And that's the problem, or rather the thing that we have to be cautious of.
You just said a whole lot just now. So then we got to be cautious of a presentation with no product. That's what we do.
That's why you the doctor right there. That's why you the doctor. Come on with it, doc.
I mean, like, we got to do the work. That's why he was saying we got to do the work, and we got to do the work that's assigned to our church specifically.
Yes, sir.
We're not assigned to everything. I tell our church all the time, our very name tells us our target audience. The word Beulah means people who are reconnecting and recommitting to their relationship.
Wow.
So we know just by virtue of our name that we're a church of restoration. That when people are trying to get back to God, this is where they come. So now we need to build ministry
around that.
And once we get ministry, now we can make that public. Now we can push that. But we can't just push that, and when they get here, ain't no work. Because you got $1 million flyer with a $2 service.
They ain't posting who they supposed to be.
That's right. I'm talking about that flyer look like, oh my God, this is gonna be off the chain. And we get there and we like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, man.
They wasn't ready.
It matters, man. It really does, because I think that's more or less what we saw a lot of in the pandemic. Yeah. People claiming, hey, folk ain't loyal to a broadcast. They jumping from one service to another service. Well, people know what they need now more than ever. When you're at the bottom, when you're dealing with a pandemic that's been going on, what you thought was going to be 2 weeks, it's turned into almost 2 years and even more months. And you're just, you just on church frolicking around because you got nice presentation. These people know what they need. And you're not producing the Bible. You're not producing substance that can feed their needs. So I think it is imperative and very important that while we embrace the new school, we should not just run into it and dive into it.
That's right.
Because it's not our foundation.
Like when you go to the mall and you walk around the food court because they out there with them toothpicks and samples.
Right. And they all taste good, right?
Yeah, you trying to find out which one tastes good and which one don't, which one tastes better for me. Yeah, that's kind of what that was. They were trying to find out, hey, what's going to do it for me?
Absolutely.
So with all of this in mind, where's the bridge? How do we hold on to what we need to from the traditional old school church? And how do we grab hold of what we need to be effective in the current day? Where's the bridge in that? How do we bridge that?
So I do think there's you definitely have to have the conversation with the new school. How you do that, it depends on how your church structure is, whether it be a survey, whether it be just a sit down conversation with them. After you have the ability to acknowledge what needs to be shifted or what might need to be added, I believe you have to teach your church how to appreciate each other's differences. And for them to understand how every piece of the puzzle won't be shaped the same way. But all of us are needed for the sake of us completing this actual picture, this big, larger picture, right? And beyond that, you have to be real with yourself. It's crazy because everything's shifting in the world today. Leaders, politics, presidents, pastors.
Wow.
And we're shifting at a rate that's somewhat alarming to where we're asking, are people even ready to step into these positions? But let's be honest, beyond that, concern, the reality is there that all of us pastors and preachers have to be real with ourselves.
That's right.
We know that God has fashioned our voice for a certain audience. And that might be an audience with a certain age. That might even sometimes be an audience with a certain age and a certain sex, right? A certain gender, because all of us, we don't have the gumbo type message. And I'm talking preachers in general at large here. And when we're honest with ourselves, we know that, hey, Rev, I'm 34 years old. I'm what the young folk will call old school now.
That's right.
And because I have the title of pastor before my name, that already creates a greater distance with the youth because they don't think I live anything close to what they're living and thinking. Right. So it was easy for me with no intimidation to assign someone else to the young people for the sake of, it had to be a youth pastor, but it had to be someone who can minister to them while I minister to him. And he's the liaison, he's the bridge to that younger generation, while in fact, I have enough to bridge. I have 77-year-olds in the sanctuary all the way down to a 25-year-old. That's a big range.
That's a big jump.
Yeah. So to think
that's
that
about
I can
50
handle
years worth of life.
Come on here. So that is a massive undertaking. And for the pastors who refuse to think of who's going to handle those teenagers, to add a whole nother 10 years to that.
Oh, buddy.
When they don't know if you have to reach way down, Jesus will pick you up. They don't know that. They just don't. Those kids are so young. Like literally, if you remember, both of us somewhat around the same age, man.
The same age.
You 34?
34.
Praise the Lord, man. You remember what it was like in 2000 when Y2K was coming and everybody was buying all of the waters?
Dude,
they were getting everything.
We had a whole storage house, Doc.
We thought the world was ending, dog. I don't know what was going to happen. But legitimately, we never thought we see the day of people being born in 2006 and 2017 and all that. So for us to be in this space, we got to understand how far. Now, we're bridgers. Naturally, we're bridgers.
Yeah.
We were born in 88. We're bridgers. We've seen the old and the new. But there's some new school coming out. And we have to assign, we got to assign somebody to that, bro, because it gets hard for us to relate to every one of them at the same time. And so I think that's really the bridger. I think that's what we saw go wrong in our generation. Nobody reached back and got us to be the youth leader. Nobody reached back and got us to help with the younger people. So it created a massive gap in the
That's right.
church, because whether the pastor was intimidated or the person over the youth department was intimidated, they were scared, or maybe they just didn't know. But that is the bridger. You have to have someone who can communicate with them on their level in all spaces.
I hear you keep using this word.
Which one is that?
Yeah, I hear you keep using this word, which I think is very, very key in how church has been run over the years. And that's that word intimidation.
Oh, man.
We don't want to train nobody. We don't want to put nobody else in spot because we think if we train them, they won't need us anymore. We're intimidated by the possibility of a future generation. And so I think that's one of the things that needs to be said. Yeah, my baby. Yeah, that's one of the things that need to be said. That there's no need to be intimidated by your son, by your daughter. They were put here to serve you. He called the young, my Uncle Fat would say, called the young because he was strong, called the old because he was wise.
Right.
He said that's why you yoke them up together. So the old one to show the young one how to plow.
Yeah.
You can't be intimidated by the person in the plow with you. And we have to do this together. You understand?
Wow.
We got to do this together.
Yeah, that's a heavy learning too. And I think as pastors, it's our job to make sure that people are not only validated by the position that they're in.
Okay,
because that's causing us to get into a whole nother level of concern. There's been a lot of people that have received appointment that don't have the anointment, right?
Oh, buddy.
And it's all because the stopping of generations being, put through the right to passage to be used and to be a part of what's going on. I think that's major intimidation. Whew.
Yeah,
you caught that one. That was good.
Yeah, like, but see, hey, hey, you fine? Because that was one of the blessings of my ministerial journey. My spiritual father was not intimidated by me, and so he trained me and taught me, and and did things for me. Bought me my first cufflink shirt. Let me preach in certain settings where he was scheduled to preach, stand up and say, Maurice going to preach today, and sit down in the seat. He didn't tell me he was going to keep the check, but you understand how that goes. And so if we can get rid of this intimidation, I think that'll be the beginning of the bridge.
Right.
I think that'll be a big piece of that bridge, because now they're not afraid to come across, and you're not afraid to let them come across.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think some people, and this is might be able to free somebody on this conversation, but some people have tied their identification to their vocation. They legitimately feel like if I stop doing this, I don't know who I am. If I get out of this position or this posture, I don't know who the person is anymore, because I've tethered my being to this very thing,
to my doing.
Yeah, and I think it's necessary for us to know that we are vessels, right? We're not a Kool-Aid pitcher. We're just a pitcher. We're not a soda pitcher. We're just a pitcher. We're not a water pitcher. We're just a pitcher. So God can utilize us in many different areas. And even if he uses you in the same area, you move out of that position and move to a new position of being a first follower or being an advisor to the person who comes in. Because this is what I tell people all the time that has really hurt the church, especially the Missionary Baptist Church in some cases, is that because no one told us what they were doing, they would leave this earth and we'd have to figure it out. And in our figuring it out, we never figured it all out.
That's right.
So we were never able to get back to the place of successfulness and effectiveness that the last person had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel? You know, that's that old statement. That old statement that experience is the best teacher. I stopped saying that.
Observation.
I stopped saying it. I started saying the person with the experience is the best teacher. Because if you went through the lesson and paid for it, why I got to pay for it too?
Right.
I could just listen to you.
I love it.
You know, because again, with what you're doing at Mount Meigs, it's amazing. Listen, just a few weeks ago, he did a whole series on, I want to say it was under construction, right? And they decorated the whole sanctuary to look like a construction zone. So instead of me bumping my head trying to figure out how to do it, hey bud, how you do that? Where you get that from? Hook me up.
Right.
And so now I can come back and do something similar. I may not use the construction tape like he did or the crates like he did, but at least I have a model. I have a blueprint. I'm not starting from scratch.
Yes, sir.
And that's because of relationship. That's because we built a bridge.
Absolutely.
I do that all the we do that all the time with the older generation. Hey, how you cooking them biscuits? How you cooking them biscuits?
I'm gonna send you the recipe.
I accept. Praise the Lord.
Right.
You know.
Praise the Lord by Breland, featuring Thomas Rhett on Amazon Music.
Stop, Alexa.
See, that's new school or old school there.
Stop, Alexa. Alexa, stop. Thank you. That's that new school thing we've been talking about.
Right. Yes, sir. How easily accessible she is to find what you need, but sometimes she's listening at the wrong time.
Yeah, I said praise the Lord, and she found a country western song and just started playing. You know, but we're gonna wrap up because I know time is far spent.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you my favorite question.
What's that?
I'm gonna ask you my favorite question. If you could go back to the first day, because New Home is Pastor Walker's first church, so go back to your very first day, the day you got the call, and knowing everything you know now, what would you go back and tell yourself?
You are good enough because you're submitted to God enough, and He'll do more than you ever expected.
Oh, wow.
That's what I would tell myself. I legitimately was in tears when I got the call. Just excited. Yeah, that God gave me the opportunity. And I was not worried, but I was worried. You know what I mean? I was not worried. I knew God would do what God was going to do. But I also had to suppress the worry of me getting it wrong. And so I would tell my younger self, 2019, 3 years ago, and a little bit of months, right? I would tell myself, you are enough because you're submitted to God enough. And that He'll do way more than what you've ever expected.
And see, you went to Mount Meigs in 19. Wasn't it about halfway mid-year?
It was in June, was my first Sunday.
Yeah, June.
Yes,
I remember. Sir. Now, you went in June, and I came to Columbus in February the following.
Wow. So right before the pandemic.
We both went right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're writing this together.
Absolutely.
And I want GB to know he's doing great things there. And I am, as the frat brother, friend, brother, the whole nine, I am beyond pleased and proud with what the Lord is doing with him. And And I appreciate you, bud, for spending this time with us on this Saturday morning. I know Kendall was our special guest.
You got to get some theme music for Kendall.
Kendall has decided now that she's crawling onto the bookshelf. So,
oh, okay.
So listen, GB, I'm excited about tomorrow. Tomorrow is Pastor Emeritus Day. We're going to celebrate Dr. C. Medley Hayes,
Awesome.
and I want you to bring a financial love gift for him. Fourth Sunday's church anniversary. We're going to do $12,000 to the glory of God, so we can help pay this mortgage off. Lee B, you got one more thing for us before we sign off?
Bro, I want to say legitimately, we're praying for you, Greater Beulah. And we're definitely praying for Dr. Meigs, my brother, my frat brother. I love you to death, man. And I believe that God has some great things in store for you all. Kudos to your pastor emeritus for recognizing and understanding that God was shifting the seasons. He ushered in one of the greatest pastors for you to have, GB. So I pray that y'all keep making it happen over there in Georgia. It is Georgia, right?
It's Georgia,
that
right
what
on the line.
It's on the line, but it is Georgia. And we're going to do what we're doing over here in Montgomery. But we're praying for you all from afar, okay? Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Doc. You getting your Oprah Winfrey on.
We do it every month, man. We do it every month on the third Wednesday. We'll have now what I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna have to get you and Coleman and Meadows and all us, and we get on and we talk and we do something together soon. All right.
That would be exciting, man. Let's make it happen, bro.
Absolutely. All right. I love you, GB. Peace.